This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Luca gets so excited every time. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome once again to Super Connectivity. I am your host, the mustachioed Charlie, the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is my blue-eyed bomber from the Burger Pits.
Phil me and Perich.
Welcome back, Phil. Oh, gosh. Oh, Philip. What a day. So fucking Winter Soldier drops.
The penultimate.
The penultimate episode. Take a drink. Unless there's a secret episode.
You said that about WandaVision.
There's always a secret episode. Okay, so spoilers. If you have not seen the episode 5 of Falcon Winter Soldier, do not be surprised if you don't have something spoiled. But, okay, so many things to digest. One thing I do want to say is, did Zemo want to go to the raft the whole time?
I don't know, maybe.
Because that's like the weird thing about this. Because here he is in the German prison, which, you know, he waits until now to escape from. And it kind of feels like he knows he's not going to get too far. Because he knows who's after him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, he's gotten Bucky off his tail, but he also knows that, you know, he has made other enemies.
Well, the entire nation of Wakanda.
Exactly. And my first thought was that they were going to take him to a Wakandan jail site, and that was going to be like, now I'm where I want to be. Ooh-ha-ha. But when they say we will take him to the raft at the end, I'm a little disappointed we don't get a real heel turn by Zemo in this, though I will not be surprised if we don't get Zemo next episode, at least in an after credit scene where he meets a certain general. But yeah, I kind of feel like he wanted out of that prison to get to a prison where he could better position himself. I still do not trust Zemo. I do not think he's just a noble guy who doesn't like superhumans, which is its own form of supremacy if you think about it, because he doesn't want to have superpowers be a democratizing force in the universe because his powers derive from his birthright and his own sense of superiority. So, you know.
I would have said that we were going to set up for him to set up the Thunderbolts, but now I don't think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be set up by the big reveal new character who's we were originally supposed to see in Black Widow first, but since that was delayed.
Yes, Countess of another royal.
Oh yeah,
and an interesting thing: counts versus barons.
Ooh.
If I recall correctly, counts are barons who are on the frontier and thus are more involved in battle. So you receive a countship once you have defended the empire. A barony is just so a barony can be anywhere in the empire. But a countship means you're on the frontier of the empire and you are doing battle constantly. So yeah, he defended the Holy Roman Empire against the Turks. Yeah, that's why he's a count. If I recall correctly, I could be mistaken about it and I may have it backwards, but my understanding is that's the difference between a count and a baron. So, as it stands, Countessa may outrank Baron just because she's got the field experience. And Sokovia was, I'm imagining, a relatively stable place that they had a barony instead of a countship. As it exists, however, exactly how evil she's supposed to be here is up for debate, because the Countessa has been affiliated with Hydra. She's also been affiliated with S.H.I.E.L.D. Used to date Nick Fury.
Yes.
So I wonder if that's going to come up later, kids.
Well, I wonder, either way, I wonder if they're positioning her to be like kind of like a new Nick Fury.
It's possible.
I mean, look, the government tried to create its own Captain America with John Walker. What if she creates the Thunderbolts? You know, because the government wants like a new Avengers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's very much a central idea, and the idea of Thunderbolts that she can control. That goes into whether or not we're going to see General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross later. You know, and whether or not, you know, how it's always that question of how high in the ranking Thunderbolt Ross actually becomes, you know, and of course what we're going to see when we get to Black Widow, because that I think is the most interesting aspect of this, that this character features in the Black Widow, and that was supposed to be her introduction, and I get the feeling this was kind of meant to be an Easter egg, almost a you know, you just stepped into a larger universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
For John Walker, to suggest that there is going to be this darker, controlled superheroing situation coming out of the new world order.
I just wonder if maybe she's even like the end credit scene of the Black Widow movie, where it's like, you know, maybe Taskmaster's in jail or wherever he ends up, and she, you know, like, hey, I can get you out, but you know, you work for me now. Is she going to be the Marvel Amanda Waller?
I mean, that's the idea, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Amanda Waller, you know, that's kind of what they did with Nick Fury. That's kind of what they've been building out here.
I'm just saying, I just wonder if if they do the Thunderbolts, is it going to be them saying, hey, DC movies, let's show you how to do a Suicide Squad. We'll show you how to do a Suicide Squad movie.
Well, yeah. I mean, without a doubt, obviously, Marvel will do it better. That's what they do. You know, I kind of get the feeling that, yeah, the entire idea of the Thunderbolts will be based on sort of a you know, people at the end of their ropes that are superhuman, which is why I think it's entirely possible we're going to see, you know, if you remember from Thaddeus Ross's Thunderbolts, you had the Punisher in that, you know, you had the Black Widow in that, and the idea of you having the Punisher or Hellcat in it might be a real possibility.
And remember we covered those Captain America comics. Who was brought in to train John Walker on how to throw that shield?
The Taskmaster. Although it seems that it seems like the shield is pretty user friendly, because we do get a great training montage with Sam in this.
I know. Well, the original shield. I mean, we saw at the end John Walker's putting together a new shield out of probably hubcaps or something.
Yeah, something. Definitely not a vibranium. Although you never know. You never know what he's got access to in this post-Stark world, you know?
Yeah, but you can't have a ton of money, and then the government's not going to give him anything. I mean, unless...
Well, you know, but
unless the Contessa is sliding them stuff under the table.
Well, but it goes into the... So, okay. So here's the thing. Remember Iron Man 2?
Yeah.
And you see the prototype shield.
Oh yeah,
which had all sorts of, you know, layers, and it's entirely possible that there are ideas of how you could replicate what the shield does using more common materials. And the idea that that John Walker, who is actually supposed to be, ironically enough, very smart.
I mean, I don't think he's dumb. It's just whether it's PTSD or, you know, anger management issues. Yeah, that's
no. Well, it's like Tony Stark. He's smart, but that doesn't mean he makes the right decisions.
No.
It's like he's smart in the sense that he has spatial reasoning. He's smart in the sense that he can figure out puzzles.
But I'm just saying too, he has some kind of, there's something going on there, whether it's the PTSD.
Well, no, well, his Well, he basically has a butt ton of imposter syndrome.
Well, that too.
And he also feels like he has earned the right to be called. So it's sort of, the idea is that this is, and when you get your mean comparisons, you get Steve Rogers saying, I'm a kid from Brooklyn and I'm Steve Rogers, whereas John Walker introduces himself as Captain America. He's walking into the room chest first saying, I am Captain America.
Well, again,
and subsuming himself into the identity, and then when no one respects that identity, it means he has given up himself for nothing. And the psychological dismissal of it is intense for him.
I mean, mentally, they're two different people still, but I mean, Steve Rogers, they basically pulled him out of boot camp during World War II to become Captain America. John Walker did how many tours in Afghanistan and stuff? Because even during that trial, he's like, that was the commission, right? He's like, you guys, you made me this. You built, this is what you wanted.
Yeah. Well, this, interestingly enough, is an interesting play on something that happened in a What If book, which was the idea of what if the Punisher had become Captain America. And I believe this actually takes place during where essentially instead of choosing the Super Patriot, they say, actually, no, that couldn't have been it. But there's some point where they figure they need a new Captain America. And Nick Fury says, look, Steve Rogers was a super soldier. We don't have that anymore. If we're going to get someone, we need someone who's already halfway there. And he picks Frank Castle to be the new Captain America. He becomes Captain America, and then his family gets killed. And then he becomes Punisher America, basically. And I think there's that idea that goes on in this, which is this idea of, we need a super soldier who is almost a super soldier. So, we do have a guy who has 3 Medals of Honor. They had to give him 3.
Yeah. Because
there are people who have 2. So it's kind of ridiculous that they just gave him 3. And
I think it was just like, there's nobody in the military more, if you can't do it, nobody in the military is going to be able to do it.
Yeah, at first I thought 3 was ridiculous until I realized there were people who had 2, which is just equally ridiculous that there's like, it's like, oh yeah, this is your second masterpiece, and thank you for being all that in a bag of chips. Although when you get into that, there's also some of those seem a little political when you get that second one. And I get the feeling maybe the second and third was a bit more political for him, where he had gotten so much acknowledgement for his work that it just, it becomes like Tom Hanks winning Oscars. It's just like, let's give it to Tom Hanks. We all know he's good, And Tom Hanks is like, did you see Turner and Hooch? I mean, I know I'm good. Have you seen Bachelor Party? I'm not saying I'm a bad actor, but I'm just saying I don't have to win every award.
Oh my God.
For those who don't know, if you're old enough, you remember there was a time where Tom Hanks won a lot of Oscars.
I just wonder if they're pointing us in the direction of the Red Skull, because you remember those last couple issues of Captain America before Steve comes back as Captain America. John Walker loses the shield, which he did in this episode. It was before the commission. They're like, yeah, you're done and stuff. And I mean, then there was a fight with Flag Smasher. It's like, are we pointing toward the skull? Because that was
well. Do you remember Sharon having a bit of an argument with someone on the phone this episode?
Well, I thought that was Batroc.
Was it though?
I think. Oh yeah.
Because at first I thought he was speaking German, and then I thought, is he speaking French? I wasn't quite sure.
But did you say Algerian prison?
I don't remember what he said, but
he said something about springing somebody from an Algerian prison.
Well, see, that would be freeing Batroc from there. So maybe that person they were talking to was having to free someone from an Algerian prison.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, I mean, you're supposed to think she's talking to Batroc. Maybe, she's talking to somebody about Batroc. Yeah.
Maybe she's talking to Arnim Zola. Maybe she's talking to the Red Skull. Maybe she's talking to a clone Arnim Zola made of the Red Skull.
Again, are we gonna? I mean, I guess next week we're gonna find out who the power broker is. I mean, again, is it gonna? I don't know if it's Sharon. Is it the Red Skull? Could it be Contessa Val?
Who knows, man? That's the thing. That's the thing. I don't think. Here's my actual thought: is I don't think the power broker is a person. I think the power broker is an office. That there's like a council of elders who serves as the power broker in Madripoor. And
everyone seems to speak of it as, well, they usually say him, but it's usually they speak of it as one person. So,
well, yeah, but then again, if it's sort of, so, and the way you can think of it is like if there's a board of directors that are running a company and they have a head of state. The head of state is a person. But at the same time, if no one gets to see the power broker, essentially, for many people, Wesley is the kingpin. So when there's just someone who shows up and says the kingpin, this is this and that, and then people just accept that because that's the spokesperson. I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you get into it, anyone could be the kingpin. Anyone could be the power broker. The point is that they're using a name like the power broker suggests that who they actually are is irrelevant because it is an office they're holding. Because the idea is to hold an office. And that office is what has power. And when you see so I don't know if you've ever read 1984, but there's a whole thing about whether or not Big Brother exists. And the answer is Big Brother exists because it's important that people believe that Big Brother exists. Was there a Big Brother? It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant whether or not there was a Big Brother or there is a Big Brother. People believe in Big Brother. That is the power of Big Brother. And when you see the power broker is watching, it's very much reminiscent of Big Brother is watching. It's meant to say there is that whatever that the power structure, such as it is and exists within Madripoor, is watching. And here's the cherry on the sundae. That's comforting to the people of Madripoor.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that there is, in fact, a power structure.
It's not utter chaos, yeah.
Yeah, that there is someone bringing order to chaos. Something like what Zemo would like to do, That's the idea. It's, as I say, that for a person like Zemo, the super soldier serum is the ultimate democratization of superhumanity. And democracy to Zemo is chaos. And that is a bad idea.
So
because Sokovia wasn't a democracy when he was fighting for it,
So what if Sharon isn't the power broker, but what if she's just like creating the legend of the power broker?
Well, no, she's just deep cover. She's deep cover to understand who the power broker is and how he plays into the larger scheme. And that's what it gets down to, is that there's a larger scheme, there's a larger plan. And, here's what I'll tell you. I will wager Sharon is working with Countess de Fontaine.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's.
I will guarantee they're working together.
Maybe that's who she was on the phone with.
Yeah. Well, because that's it. And for what it's worth, that's the idea, is that we need someone else other than Nick Fury in this universe, because maybe Samuel L. Jackson is asking too much to put on pants to show up for work today.
If he's even on Earth. If he's even on Earth.
Well, yeah, or however they're gonna play it out,
Maybe somebody activates her because they're like, we can't find Nick Fury.
Well, that may be a thing too, and that's the thing with, and we do have our secret invasion coming, and which goes into all kinds of other things. Is who is doing the invasion? Is it the Skrulls or is it the Kree? Because people forget about Pink Kree. They even have Black Kree. People forget that. They may even have Asian Kree. They have all kinds of Kree. Kree of many colors. But the idea that there are more characters to be explored is an interesting idea. And for what it's worth, a post-blip world is a perfect time to infiltrate a planet. Because if you think about it...
Oh, yeah, because... Yeah, because
all these people say, "Oh, I was blipped," which means anyone that died at that time,
I think
you can now seize their identity.
Or like I think we've said that before. Or you catch somebody before they get back to their families. When they come back, you kill them, and it's like, "Oh yeah, I'm back." Or and for what it's worth, I'm sure there were lots of people who took up new identities post blip because suddenly, oh, Steve disappeared. Well, I have Steve's social security card and I have Steve's birth certificate. I think I'm going to go be Steve now. He's got a much better credit rating. And suddenly I'm showing up every day and I'm Steve. And that's the reality of it. And that's why when the de-blippening happened, it got so complicated. I mean, you took out half the planet. I thought about this before. It's like, somebody had to be in the middle of a heart attack. Somebody had to be in the middle of dying.
No, lots of people died. And like people have said, if the pilot and co-pilot and navigator all blipped out, you all died on that plane. But were you a blippening or were you a death from airline crash? Because presumably, if you were de-blipped from an airline crash, you're alive. Because arguably, the de-blippening isn't going to put you in the middle of the sky. It's going to put you somewhere safe because the gauntlet knows what it's doing. It knows what it's creating here. At the same time,
and I mean, you can just add one word to your wish, just bring everyone back safe. Boom.
Well, I don't think it's a genius. I don't think it's conscious, but I don't think it's working against you.
Yeah.
Because literally, if it was working against everyone, if then it says, "I wish half the universe were gone," and then everyone just splits, then everything just splits in half. It would be just very stupid. Or it'd be even funnier if it's like, no, that complete other half of the universe, like we just split the universe down the middle.
Yeah,
and all those that entire half of the universe is just gone.
But yeah, I mean, it's basically a computer program. It's not like the devil. It's not like a genie. It's not like there's not like specific rules working against you. It knows what it's interfacing with your mind. It knows what you want. So it's just
And also, what I will say is that I do think it is conscious, and I do think it makes specific choices. That I don't think anything is meant to be random. I think everything is happening along specific choices that the gems are making.
But I don't think it has a will of its own. It's just like, oh, you tell me to do it.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I think they have a will of its own. I think that everything that has been happening has been the stones manipulating themselves to be brought together, and maybe to be dispersed.
Yeah, but if they were going to fight anything, don't you think they would have tried to fight Thanos from destroying half of the life in the universe?
Except he didn't destroy half the life in the universe. He converted half the life into non-existence, which is, as he makes a point of, a different thing. He's not killing them. He's making them not exist, which suggests that they do exist, but somewhere else, because it cannot be created nor destroyed. And when they all come back, they are coming back as they were, including, clothes and cell phones and weird things like that.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, just maybe not that they go elsewhere, but that they convert them into something else, like energy or something that's not going to take up a lot of space.
They are taken out of the equation.
Yeah.
Essentially, what they've done is they've been sequestered from the equation, so that now the equation can move forward with half the people and half the resources, which immediately makes you realize that didn't solve anything at all. But thanks for playing Thanos. Half our crops are gone. Fortunately, there's only half as many people to be starving for them.
Did it take out half the crops?
Yes, it took out half. It took half of all life on Earth, because that's why we see that trees and birds return after the snap. Because there was a tree in the courtyard, and now it's back. I don't know. They worked with this kind of crazy stuff all the time with this, and but the idea is that throughout it all, they're kind of piecing it back together. But how to get on this? Anyway,
somehow we strayed from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
We strayed from Falcon, got back to Thanos.
Okay, so I was gonna say back to Falcon and Winter Soldier. So do you think Bucky's gonna start dating Sam's sister?
Just to annoy Sam, maybe, or more to be more specific, Sam's sister may start dating Bucky just to annoy Sam.
Oh, true.
So two people whose main motivation in life is to annoy Sam. They got a lot in common, those two. So,
and even her kids are just like, man, he brings the coolest toys to the house, man.
Yes, well, and yeah, seeing them play with the shield, which is an important moment. Because when they're playing with the shield, that tells Sam he has to pick up the shield. Because as much as Isaiah Bradley is right, he is also wrong.
Well, I think that was the big motivator too. I think Sam was like, I have to do this for all these, for these black men who came before me, and hey, I'm going to, on some level, I think he wants to prove Isaiah wrong and be like, hey, you know what? The system can work. We just got to change it.
Well, exactly. And that's the idea, is that you have to change the system.
Yeah.
That, you can't just resign yourself to the fact that the system is broken.
Yeah.
You have to much like the boat. The boat is broken. But if we all come together as a community, maybe we can fix the boat.
Yes.
So that is the small scale. This is the large scale. Although here's what I find is the most interesting aspect of the whole story. Where is the GRC located, Phil?
Where was it located?
Well, it's New York City, but in a specific part of New York City. Do you remember what area it was?
No, where was it?
The UN.
Oh, okay.
Which makes sense. Do you remember a time when Captain America had to save delegates from the UN after they had been taken hostage? I believe it was in Young Men's Adventures, where a certain young, plucky William Burnside and Jack Monroe first took some super soldier serum to save the day as Captain America and Bucky.
I was waiting this episode. I kept waiting for a Burnside reference, and I'm just like,
well, no, but it's interesting that they're paralleling it, because obviously this is going to be Sam going to save that with his new something in a box from Wakanda. Gee, I don't know what that was. Though, interestingly enough, gee, Taurus, why don't you keep these wings?
So that was going to be my question. I mean, when he became Captain America in the comics, I mean, he had a new suit, but he had wings. Is he going to have wings, or is he ditching the wings? Is it just
I think there's going to be the wings. I think these are going to be vibranium. I think they're going to be navy blue. That's going to be navy blue Wakandan vibranium wings. Because for what it's worth, actually, in the comics, Falcon's wings were made by Wakandans. So,
yeah, even like back in the 90s when he got a new suit for a while, I think that was built by the Wakandans.
Yeah, the Wakandans built it. Yeah, it's always been Wakandans. Wakandans have been, we'll build you wings so you can fly. Fine.
Hey, man, how many times have we seen those Stark wings damaged? In this series. Yeah, let's get.
Yeah, so he gets his new wings. So I'm sure what's in there is wings. It'll be interesting whether or not they did put a red, white, and blue pattern on it.
Like that one from the comics. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, I get the feeling that maybe, because that was a thing, that was one of these great things where I think, when Bucky says, when me and we do real that, yeah, Steve and Bucky talked about it before. And, and he says, we never really thought about it in terms of what it would be like for a black man in this country.
Which makes sense to me, because for Steve Rogers, I would think it would be like, color never factored into it. He was just like, oh, hey, here's a good man I know. I'm going to give him the shield.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, but that's the idea, is that they didn't know and they didn't think of it because they were two old white guys from the 40s who were blinded by their own sense of patriotism.
And again, I mean, Steve Rogers slept through, a couple of decades, the civil rights movement and all that.
Yeah, it worked out great because, and for what it's worth, that's not uncommon for, especially impoverished people from usually from Lower Manhattan, but also from Queens, I'm sure, where there was a little, although by the 40s there was probably a lot more race hatred. But if you go back in time, there is actually a lot of mixing among all of the underclass because the Irish were not seen much differently than others. As if you're Irish or Chinese or African American, you were definitely seen as something lesser, or Italian, God help you. And, that was the history of the world. And there was so much mixing in New York, which is why New York is the greatest city on the earth. But anyway, moving back to this story. Yeah, I think it's telling that they did this. So I want to see what the costume looks like next episode, because we do see him open the case. The Wakandans made him something. And what Sam decides to do with that something is going to be interesting, because we know he has a plan for it. I'm wondering if they rebuilt a Red Wing for him. I'm wondering if this is going to have more of a neural interface. And I was a little disappointed with them killing Red Wing so early in this, but we'll see. Anyway, you saw Invincible, at least a little bit of it, I guess.
Most of it, yeah.
So here's my big thing with Invincible. Because Invincible gets beat up a lot. But there is a thing they said at the end of last episode. Spoilers for Invincible now. Which is that the Daxamite cells, and they're using
Viltrumite or whatever.
But whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Bless you.
Pardon my sneeze. They make the point that those cells aren't dying.
Oh, no. Quite the opposite.
But what's interesting about that is they're taking that from Invincible's sample.
Mm-hmm.
Which suggests that maybe there are the Dolomite cells and the human cells. What were they called again, Philip?
It was a Viltrumite, I believe.
Viltrumite. Okay, yes. That's why you're here. You fill me in.
Yeah.
So Phil me in, Perich fills me in that they're Viltrumite cells, which makes me wonder, every time he gets the butt kicked out of him, are his human cells becoming less and his Viltrumite cells becoming more?
I'm trying to remember the whole thing, so I only read the series once, but I'm pretty sure I think it might just be a matter of time, because I think he said I think they said it doesn't matter who those Viltrumites procreate with. Eventually, over time, those Viltrumite cells basically take over all the genetic material. So eventually you're going to be able to look at Mark's blood and not tell that he had, he was half human.
Yes. Although emotionally he may always be.
Oh yeah. Emotionally, but I'm just on a genetic level. Yeah. I mean, eventually that DNA takes over.
Yeah. But I have to imagine they might be telling a more expedited story in this.
Yeah.
Which would also explain why he let his child get beat the heck out.
Mm.
Because he knew no matter what they did, he would come back.
Well, I mean, if they follow the comic too, I think he doesn't want to confront Mark once Mark finds out the truth about his father.
Yeah, which they haven't done yet. Although it appears others do know, and exactly how his father is dealing with that is going to be an interesting question for the next couple episodes. I'm wondering how this whole Adam Eve story is going to play out with her decision to be the hero who picks up the garbage. Because I think that's going to be because she appears to be kind of a Molecule Man level power.
Yeah,
character.
She basically can rearrange matter into any form she wants. So it's she's like, why do I need college? I can just make whatever I need. And
exactly, and I think that's going to be an interesting arc for her.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I do wonder if Invincible's father is going to be a counselor to her on this issue. Where he's going to say, yeah, you saved a lot of people. And then it's going to be, where is Adam Eve? Why did she not save these people? And again, it goes to this idea of, it's a great Jerry Seinfeld, if you can ever find it on DVD, when he does, I think it's the first time he hosts Saturday Night Live, and he's playing Superman, and there's a radio show, and someone's asking, during the garbage strike, why isn't Superman gathering all the garbage to take care of the garbage strike? And he's like, I'm Superman. That's not my job. That's not what I do, And just this idea is like, yeah, if all you do is take care of them, all they'll want is for you to take care of them. So that's the big conundrum that I think Adam Eve is going to have to deal with. So,
and again, I mean, they did this in the comics too. I think her whole thing is just like, why would I waste time on college? Why would I waste time on any of this? It's like, one, I can create anything I need for myself, and two, I can make life on Earth better for everyone. Because, like, as they showed here, I mean, she's putting out forest fires. She can make crops grow on like barren land and stuff. And
yeah, but education is its own reward.
Oh yeah. But
that's the actual reason why is because actually, and for what it's worth, you learn more about the world when you learn that you really aren't a god. Because what are you just going to go to every place on Earth and just grow crops? And then what's going to happen to those crops? Are they going, now that you've grown all these crops, is the value of those crops going to become depressed economically? Have you made too much corn? Have you made too much wheat? Is the price of wheat no longer valuable to those who grow wheat?
Well,
what is the actual outcome of all of these choices you're making?
Well, remember, she's still a teenager too. I don't know how much of this she's thought through, but I think her whole thing is just like,
well, no, but I think that's the arc that we're looking at here for her. It's like, yeah, great. We have all the food we could ever want. We could have all the whatever we ever need, but we don't have a system that can handle these ideas. Because we have a system built on scarcity, and you want to create a post-scarcity world, which is great. But how do you handle a post-scarcity world without killing everyone who has been profiting from scarcity?
And again, I mean, she's a teenager. I think she's thinking, every college class I sit in, every time I sit in a college class, somebody's gonna die either through violence or there could be someone in Africa starving.
Well, yeah, but that's where I think that Invincible's father, where I think Omni-Man is actually gonna, if they're gonna take a different tack, he's gonna come to her to be a mentor to her.
I mean, if they change it up for the show, maybe, but in the comics, he's basically
don't ever go by the comics.
Oh yeah, no.
This isn't anime where they follow the comics.
Yeah, no.
This is American.
Yeah.
This is American animation where we're just gonna throw out the comics and say, "Well, that's a good idea, son. Thanks for the idea. We're gonna go take it in our own direction now." Because when you're looking at it as a storyline, emotionally, it makes a much better sense for, especially as his son is rebelling, to reach out to this other really infinitely powered character in the story and say, yeah, I guess you're having some problems. I understand what you're doing. We Viltrumites, we have this issue too. The issue with the Immortal at the end, which I know you didn't see, spoilers, that opens a lot of doors for things So I'm curious where that's going to lead in the next few episodes.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it yet, but
I think they did that in the comics. So that was from the Global Guardians, the one who was supposed to be dead. Yeah. Yeah.
You call yourself the Immortal and you're in a grave, somebody's wrong. The question is who.
So yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier, next week's the finale, and then Invincible only has 2 more episodes this season.
Yeah, well, they gotta clear it out, and then they'll put in something else. They gotta get your interest. Interestingly enough, the Nevers are out there, and they are on a weekly basis. They just have 1 episode out so far. My niece was upset that there was only 1 pilot episode so far. The Nevers is interesting. It's basically steampunk X-Men versus the Patriarchy, which sounds good. But what I find most interesting about it is it's the redemption. It's the Joss Whedon redemption vehicle he didn't know he was going to need. Because it is a good series. It is, or at least it's a good first episode. And no one is sitting there saying, Joss Whedon is a monster, and I can't ever work with him. Which I think is going to be Joss Whedon's great redemption in this. Is that, well, not redemption, but at least people are going to be a little more cautious with him, but at least are going to let him continue to work. Is that, generally speaking, I don't think he is. I think he targets people who make him mad. And if you don't make him mad, if you don't make him angry, you don't need to not like him when he's angry. A good parallel in that is Made for Love. If anyone has seen that, that is a brilliant thing currently on HBO Max also, where you deal with a sociopathic billionaire who controls people, but in a bad way. But it's also funny. Okay, Philip, anything else you want to talk about this week before we get to comics?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, let's get to some comics.
Let's get to comics. Let's talk about the one we've been teasing since last episode, Fantastic Four, number 30, Legacy number 675. Yeah, so Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm are both consumed and by Null, and Sky can't control Dragon Man because Dragon Man's an android. Ha! Sucks to be you, Sky.
But I guess they said the connection between Sky and Johnny is so strong, she didn't even get touched by a symbiote. It was just because he got controlled, she got controlled too.
Yeah. And, it's neat. And then you have the jump, because that's the thing. It's like we end it, it's like Johnny and Ben say, well, guess we got to get back to Null. And then the next one is after everything blew up, here's everyone dealing with stuff. And neat because they actually have, we see the bartender at the bar where we had the whole thing one shot where he was in the dreams with that woman. So she's alive and well and everything's good. You have Ben.
He's helping Terry. I just saw it. He's helping Terry fix up Kavanaugh's. Terry Kavanaugh was a writer in the 90s for Marvel. So
yeah, but I believe this character was mentioned. There was a thing, one shot where the bartender at the African American bartender at the bar across the street. She had a song thing. I don't even know if they ever gave us her name in that one, but yeah. So anyway. And you get Ben and Reed talking, and we also get, Sue is still standing around naked watching her brother do his stuff. She does not trust Sky. She's so overprotective.
Is she naked, or she's just wearing street clothes?
She's probably wearing street clothes. It's fine.
It's hard to see, but I think she might. I see a belt, maybe. So I think she's wearing.
Yeah. And man, they had to get Valeria get tall in these last couple issues. Because now she almost looks like almost the same age as Franklin. So,
oh yeah,
Yeah, I guess I had to age her up to be an appropriate love interest for.
But
Bentley.
again, aging, especially on those kids, gets wonky the closer you are.
Yeah, because
Franklin,
they do what they want and that's the real gag of it is like, oh, you have no powers, Franklin. It's like, well, do I have no powers, or am I constantly manipulating every atom in this omniverse just for this moment? Even if I'm doing it unconsciously. So that's the thing. Along those same lines, let's talk Iron Man real quick.
Oh yes, Iron Man #8, where Tony Stark does not make an appearance.
Yeah, who needs him? It's a Hellcat story.
Oh yeah.
And it's Hellcat and Moon Dragon working through stuff. And again, that's the thing I really find most fascinating about this is we have all these Hero Reborn covers on the non-Hero Reborn books. And there's a part of me that's almost like, dang, is because when I first saw this, like, man, is Korvac the reason for Heroes Reborn?
I don't think. I think
does he win? But as he tries to restructure the universe, Professor was like, yoink.
I think you know what's interesting. Did you see it on? I think it was like page 2 or something of Guardians of the Galaxy that we talked about on Capes and Lunatics. There was like a big threat board, Emperor Hulkling was looking at, and towards the bottom it said something about Korvac, and it said Iron Man responding or something.
Well, there you go.
So yeah,
yes. And this was neat. We get a little. I thought that Lilith will love this because she loves Archie, and this is all Patsy, and Patsy is Archie. An Archie ripoff. If Archie went insane and was in an asylum and had to come to terms with her own self to regain her own psionic powers. So, and it kind of suggests that we're kind of making Patsy a super BA now in the Marvel Universe, on par with Korvac to go battle him. By the way, I love Gargoyle wearing spectacles in this.
Oh yeah.
I am still going to make it look like every time it's like when you see Beast wear the spectacles, and you kind of feel like, do you really need glasses, Beast, or are those just an affectation?
It's like when Professor Hulk wore glasses once or twice. It's like, really?
Yeah, it's like, really, you're gonna wear glasses? Although my favorite character in all of this is still Frogman, because he does nothing, but he's in his seatbelt, and I love the fact that he just has, you just see his eyes in the blackness of the mask, and it's like, okay, my friend, I'll buy it.
I love that. He's like, I was very excited to go to outer space, and now I really don't like it at all.
Yes, well, who would? Who would, my friend? War and Pax.
Oh, yeah.
Maestro, #4. I don't know. I mean, the whole Doom coming to Utopia, and everyone's like,
Nah, it's okay.
And we're gonna encase Hulk in something that that is clearly not adamantium.
That we've never mentioned before, but take our word for it. It's strong.
Yeah, and they leave an air hole for him. Why did you leave an air hole?
Well, aren't they playing on? I think they're playing with the Immortal Hulk stuff, where it's like if we kill him, he's just gonna come back. So
Yeah, but at the same time, better he comes back from suffocation and comes back at being a place where he's suffocating.
I mean, unless they're worried about him coming back full Hulk or something. But I'm just like, why don't you just keep him sedated, or then keep him?
Honestly, it's so. This is kind of. It's a little weak sauce in it. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially when they all get blown up, because
you're telling me
it's just real. We need to die. I hate when people say we just need to die.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait, where are they shooting those missiles? Then they're like, oh wait, they're killing themselves. Why?
Well, MODOK's the same way. He's like, might as well die now.
Well, I mean,
it helps the story. Do you mind if I die? It'll help the story.
Well, they shot him at MODOK, so I just assumed MODOK didn't have the defenses. It's like, okay, well,
it just seems like people who are sick of living. Basically, immortality is a curse. A curse. Then we jump back. We're gonna tell a backstory with the Pantheon battling the Black Scythe, and
I'm surprised you didn't mention when that whole thing in Hulk's head. Who did he see in his head?
Oh, Samson. Well, Samson's always there. Yeah. Samson lives rent free. And the Hulk strangles Samson, and I just kind of wanted a whole. Again, it's Banner talking to himself and giving himself an out, which is, I guess, cute in Banner's mind. It's like, why should I worry if I'm... Banner sucks. And
I mean, he's had mental issues since day one, but now it's like, post-apocalyptic world. Most of everyone he's known is dead. That's not helping that mental condition at all.
Ra-ba-ba is what I say. Ra-ba-ba.
Well, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying. I mean, I think he was deranged to begin with, and this just made it worse.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to wallow in my own self-pity about it. That's the thing. No, I get what you're saying. I also feel that it cheapens the character.
You're looking for logic from a lunatic.
No, that's the thing. Lunatics have logic. It's just a fractured logic. That's sort of the thing. It's like, if you ever actually talk to a schizophrenic, they will have an order in their own brain. But, the thing about Hulk is it's all just manipulative, maudlin, passive aggression.
I think that's his logic. He woke up, the entire world's in chaos, and he's like, well, how do I restore order? Well, I crush all the opposition and I run things.
Well, no. Well, I guess that's where you and I will disagree on this. It's like, to me,
I'm not saying it's logical, but that's his logic.
What it is I don't grant him the level of schizophrenic on this. I grant him the level of personality disordered narcissist, where it's like, okay, I don't want to admit how evil I am, so I'm going to create this other persona, and that's who's going to do all my evil deeds. And I'm just poor Dr. Banner. I just want to be left alone.
Well, and I mean, they brought it up, an issue or two back about, the death of his mother when he was a kid. I mean, we always talk about Batman. I think part of the Hulk is it's like he never got past that trauma. There's always a part of him that's like a scared little kid.
Well, yeah, but that was only done in many years later.
Yeah.
That's that's different between the Hulk. Like Batman, it was like baked in, like, early on, when the guy who created Batman actually wrote Batman's origin. Because it was the other guy who actually created Batman. The other guy painted him
and something's broken in his head, because it's like, where's Joe? Where's all those other Hulks?
Yeah. Well, that's the idea, is that and I guess the idea is that there's just nothing else left but what is the pure narcissistic Hulk. And that is a Maestro. And that's the real idea of it, is that there is this narcissistic Hulk. Mm-hmm. And his entire existence is eliminating the last vestiges that are not the narcissist. And that's what he's trying to do. And, that's the thing. It's like, I don't find the narcissist story compelling. I think, when Dr. Doom shows up and you're like, gee, I really hope Doom deals with that narcissist character. That tells you how bad it's gotten.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think of Thor?
That ending was very odd to me.
Well, and I guess there's this aspect of it that is, So jump ahead, because this is kind of a, one thing we don't talk about a lot in Falcon and Winter Soldier was that it is a big fight and then all of the aftermath.
Yes.
Is the rest of the episode. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel with this. It's like there's a big fight and then it's the aftermath, and that basically what occurs is
yeah, that is the other thing. It's like, yeah, they made up Don Blake as like this big unstoppable thing. He took down all of Asgard and everything, and then Thor beats him with the Destroyer in like what, 3 pages?
Well, because the other times he had caught them off guard.
Yeah.
To put it to you very simply, the man couldn't even destroy Throg.
True.
That I think that was the first hint that this guy is not the threat he seems. He killed, what was it, Thunderstrike when he was in his human form?
No,
killed Eric Masters, right?
No, it was at Red Norvell.
Oh, Red Norvell. I can't remember.
Yeah.
He killed Red Norvell in his human form. And,
True.
Okay. But he couldn't take out Throg. He couldn't take out Lockjaw. He couldn't even really take out most of the Asgardians. He had to transport them to somewhere else, Yeah. It's like everything he did was just sort of illusion, if you will. And,
I just find it, I mean, I get them wanting to have Thor kind of wanting to have mercy on Don Blake, but it's like, but then Loki's torturing him. It's like, that's not going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Well, what it is he's granting him his wish.
Yeah.
He has an existence as a god. He is now the god of lies, which means that the next time we see him, it will be when he escapes and is now the god of lies. And that will be the story that is told next. So, yes, he has to endure this painful prison, but it's going to build his story. And it will be a situation where, as part of his lies, he will always be in the prison and he will always be able to go out. He will never be free from the punishment of Loki, but he will be able to have the adventures of Loki.
So is Loki setting up Don Blake to take his place? So Loki's like, so I don't have to oppose my family anymore.
Well, exactly. He's setting Don Blake up to be the villain going forward, because that's what Don Blake wants.
Mm-hmm.
He's being merciful and saying, if we aren't going to kill you, we know you'll come back and hurt us. So let us at least make it so that you have a reason. So let us at least create your story, because Loki is the god of stories, so that we understand within the mythos who you are. And you are the god of lies, and you are the god of revenge. And please feel free to act upon, brother God. Because it's different for gods.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the real truth of being a god in this. Is like, yes, we will die and we will be reborn. And that is the cycle of Ragnarok. And if you want to participate in that, enjoy. Understand it is not for the petty or the venial or those who are mad about last week. Because, as it turns out, we will be here for 1,000 years and 1,000 more again. And that is only because we are so young and infantile as gods. And in a millennia or two, you may find that this game gets boring. As the Qs say, we've all been the Scarecrow. It gets boring, you know? And that's the lesson for Don Blake. Because a trickster god always teaches a lesson. Any final thoughts this week, Philip?
No. I think you gave enough much to think about.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Philip?
I said I think you gave us a lot to think about, but I can see why you wouldn't hear me.
Yeah, you know, I don't have high-quality tweaked audio headsets. Now, although the headset I'm using is not the normal 99-cent store headsets I buy in bulk at the local 99-cent store because they work for a week and then I'm done. But by the end of the year, I've spent $52 on them. But that's okay because I'm buying them one at a time. I don't realize how much money I'm spending. But if I would only go to tweakedaudio.com, use the coupon code Southgate at checkout, I could get a high-quality set of headphones that could last for a year, 2 years, 4 years, 8 years without maintenance and be happy at a fraction of what I'm spending on those 99-cent store headphones. And that would be awesome. That's tweakedaudio.com to use that coupon and find those high-quality headphones. Likewise, I can use that same coupon code Southgate upon checkout over at hunterkiller.com and get an analog true crime podcast delivered to my home. Yes, it is a escape room delivered to your home. It's a bunch of clues, a bunch of puzzles. You're trying to help Michelle Gray solve a cold case, piece it together. In the event of an apocalypse, you're going to need this, and that's what will be helpful for you and your family to keep your minds active. Likewise, in the event of an apocalypse, you may want to buy Pod Life the book in hardcover, which you can buy at Amazon.com by going down to our show notes, clicking on the Amazon link, and going there. But you may say, well, Charlie, I have faith the apocalypse isn't right around the corner. In that case, just get the digital version of it. Also available at Amazon.com for download. It is a book written by the storytellers of the Southgate Media Group about why they podcast and what it means to them and how it saved their lives. So it's an enjoyable read. I recommend you do that. And if anyone does that, Philip, how could they reach out to us and let us know about it?
You can always email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And again, you can find links to all of our social media, links to our YouTube channel, links to our merchandise, our Capes and Lunatics Patreon, the Southgate Media Group Patreon at Linktree, linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics.
Okay, great. And if you would like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivity, like the show, blog, like a thing I don't do anymore, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet things, possibly the Powerpuff Girls when that show drops on CW.
Whoa. We seem to lost Charlie Esser. Yeah, it's at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEssser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for
quality. Bing!
All righty. So, yeah, Charlie Esser seemed to knocked himself off. So, yes, kiddies, come back next time. I'm pretty positive he's going to want to talk the finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, probably more Invincible, and of course Marvel Comics. Whatever else catches his attention. So, yeah. Come back in 1 week. Falcon and Winter Soldier, come on. Don't leave us hanging. Tell us who the power broker is. Alright, so come back next time. We can all get through the Falcon and Winter Soldier together.